Hey everyone, I'm John Giesick. I'm the host of the C-Suite Sherpa podcast, where we interview business leaders and help them create business for you. Our mission is to connect leaders and listeners to experts to help boost your personal and professional lives. And today we have a special guest. Her name is Rachel Karu. She's the founder of Stepping Into More, which is a personal and professional development company. So Rachel, go ahead and tell us about you and what you do and the clients that you help the most.
Sure. Great to be here. I'm passionate about inspiring reflection and results. I think oftentimes in our day to day, we get so caught up in the crisis of the day or trying to be in service to others that we sometimes disconnect from foundational pieces of ourselves, values, our strengths, the work life balance. So I very much enjoy creating safe space for people to really quiet down and to reconnect to all of who they are so that they can make conscious choices and thrive both personally and professionally.
That's awesome. Quiet down. What does that feel like? Wow. So, Rachel,
Yeah,
tell us who specifically are your clients? Who are you able to help the most?
yeah, I work with a variety of people, including successful people who feel they've followed the prescribed methods to be successful and somehow are still feeling unhappy, unfulfilled. I also work with leaders who are technically competent but might be struggling with more of the emotional intelligence side of things and how to really relate to other people. I also work with individuals, especially women who are burnt out after years of being in service to others and are not as adept at putting the oxygen mask on first for themselves. And then finally, I also work with recovering perfectionists, in which I am a recovering perfectionist. For those recovering perfectionists, they're often very exhausted and depleted by the high expectations that they're putting on themselves and others. So those are some of the people I work with.
Rachel, that's great. Recovering perfectionist. Oh my gosh, I'm raising my hand. I'm like, tell it, girl. Just tell it. Unbelievable. Yeah. So I want to make sure that we get time. We were talking before we hit the record button about your program, about the saboteur assessment. And I really want you to talk about your group coaching thing because what we talked about was really interesting. Can you share stuff about the group coaching?
Absolutely. One of the frameworks that I'm super excited about is called positive intelligence. Positive intelligence is all about how we cultivate mental fitness. And what I mean by mental fitness is how do we approach things in a more positive way versus how we're hardwired for the negative. Each of us is hardwired to have what we call a judge, and the judge judges ourself, others, and circumstances. And we also have what are called accomplished saboteurs, which are basically strengths overdone or misapplied. This framework looks at identifying and bringing negative voices to the surface, since most of our thoughts are negative and subconscious. Then we're an autopilot. So becoming aware of those patterns and at the same time starting to connect with our inner sage, which is really who we are at our core. And then once we know about our saboteurs and our sage, the question becomes, how do we start catching the saboteur and the judge so that we can distract that pattern from a neuroscience perspective and be able to start accessing more of our sage through mindfulness practice. So it's a really wonderful framework. And my colleague and I are facilitating 8-week group coaching programs that takes a very deep dive into this framework.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I can relate to that. There's a lot of coaches that I've interviewed. Awareness is really the first step, but being aware of what's going on and what's holding you back and not being able to get around it or get through it just leads to frustration. So I'm glad that that's a real key part of your program. So in your field, I guess we would put you in the personal development coaching bucket. Um, what business approach besides this program do you have that's keeping you differentiated from others?
Yeah, so one of the things about the coaching industry, both in executive and quote unquote life coaching, all coaching involves life coaching, is that our industry is maturing and getting saturated. It's very important to differentiate myself. The way I do that is, first of all, through my own lifelong learning. I'm continually growing, learning new strategies, and I'm also modeling this idea of the strength of vulnerability. As I mentioned, I am a recovering perfectionist. And that perfectionism stopped me for over 20 years of really living my passion, which was primarily singing. And a car accident changed everything for me, which eventually led me into a workshop called Joy of Singing that had me reconnect to that part of myself. And then later to writing an autobiographical self help book, producing a CD of songs, and also really stepping into more. So now I am using my mess and turning it into my message. And a lot of the work I do, especially with those type A folks, is really showing them how they too can learn how to be more of who they really are and to start loving and accepting themselves for who they are versus constantly achieving and basing all of their self-worth on never-ending achievements on that hamster wheel.
Yeah, been there. I appreciate that. Rachel, so think about your clients over the past years and just share with us, what do you think in your experience is the biggest hurdle for people to get to where they want to be?
Great question. I would say themselves. And it's really the judge and saboteurs that we were just talking about. And if you're a fan of the Matrix movie, it's like we're plugged into this machine and we don't even realize it, that we are being run by these subconscious negative feelings, which lead to thoughts, which lead to our choices, which means we're on autopilot. It's very easy when we're in that mode to fall into more of a victim mentality and to keep thinking of the reasons why I coulda, woulda, shoulda one day and not really own our lives and be empowered in our lives. So, a lot of the work I do is helping people become aware of those negative patterns and at the same time get really clear about who they are. What are their values? What are their strengths? And when I talk about strengths, not things that we're good at, what energizes you? Because as humans, we're good at many things, but just because I could do something doesn't mean I should do something. So, really supporting people and gaining that awareness, as you spoke about, and then very much focusing on taking action. Very small baby step actions, not huge, grandiose actions as a perfectionist, and then not achieving it, beating ourselves up and feeling horrible and not doing anything. So it's really that combination of awareness building, taking small actions, and celebrating the wins, celebrating those strengths instead of constantly nitpicking on what didn't work and where are the gaps. Even from a neuroscience perspective, when we double down on our strengths where we already have natural talents and abilities, we're going to grow exponentially versus constantly finding the gap where even if we do a tremendous amount of work, we're still probably not going to be great in that thing and we're never going to love it.
I can relate to the patterns that you develop and the unconscious decisions that you make based on your past decisions. There was a phrase that somebody else mentioned about living your life being asleep at the wheel. And that's kind of what you're saying about autopilot. I find people ask themselves, and why do I keep doing that over and over again when I'm not getting the result that I want? And for you to connect that to past experience or stories going on in their head, that's a breakthrough that will really increase awareness for people. So that's awesome. I appreciate that.
It's really gratifying work to be a witness to people's growth and to be a trusted advisor for them.
Thanks for sharing that, Rachel. So we're gonna loosen our proverbial ties, and we're gonna do a little bit of lightning round. I just want to give the viewers a chance to know you a little bit more personally. You know, great experience that you have and your service that you offer is phenomenal. But Let's loosen the tie a little bit, and I'm going to ask you some lightning round questions. Try not to think too much and just share with us the first thing that pops up. I'll start off easy, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Is that an all day coffee or just morning coffee?
It's a thermos that lasts me through the morning.
Perfect. What about cats or dogs?
Neither.
No pets?
Humans are hard enough.
Who needs more stress, right? Okay, so there's a zombie apocalypse and you can only grab one weapon or one item. What are you taking with you?
Wow, I'm envisioning a weapon that shoots out fire. And also, I'm seeing like nunchucks. I'm throwing nunchucks at the same time.
You win. I surrender. So what about a favorite quote? Maybe something that you heard through your business life or something that stuck with you or really impacted you.
Yes, the Gandhi quote, be the change you want to see in the world.
I remember hearing that. I think I remember seeing that on an Apple commercial or something like that. That's phenomenal. What about a movie or a streaming series? If you ever have a chance to sit on the couch, what are you watching?
Well, my favorite movie of all time, it's a bit irreverent, but is Blazing Saddles. I know I recently rewatched it with a friend of mine who's very conservative, and just the look on her face, I was like, oh no, this is not good.
Oh my gosh, I'm having flashbacks of watching it with my brother. Um,
Awesome.
what about a book? A favorite book that you read before or a book you're currently reading?
Yeah, I'm actually currently reading a book called Wounds into Wisdom. And it's all about epigenetics and how our genetics actually impact us on a DNA level. And I'm taking a workshop on that right now and doing a lot of somatic work and somatic healing because those memories from generations past live in our body.
Wow, that's another level. You throw that on your differentiation pile for sure.
Thank you.
And all right, let's talk about bucket list. Give me something that was on your bucket list that you already accomplished and something that's left on your bucket list that you will accomplish.
The bucket list that I've already accomplished is that after over 20 years of not singing because I was terrified with my perfectionism, I am now regularly singing and sharing my voice with others. And the bucket list item I have yet to accomplish is reconnecting to my first passion of musical theater. And when I have more time, I would love to be in a musical theater production.
That's awesome. And that's going to happen. I got a feeling you're the gal that's going to get that done.
Thank you. I'll take that.
So tell us about one of the biggest struggles you had in your professional career. And you kind of mentioned it, but there might be something else about your resistance for singing and just your perfectionism. Is there something else that you had to overcome to get the success that you're having right now?
Yeah, this piece about my perfectionism was really huge because it was stopping me from really living my values and leading from my heart. And when I was in this car accident on my way, ironically, to facilitate a work life balance workshop, when I was in the car accident, my life was not very balanced in that moment. So there was just many lessons and a lot of growth and learning for me. This ultimately led to me writing my book, and the book itself caused quite a bit of drama with my husband's family, primarily in Israel. It was a challenging time because I wrote about my journey, but I didn't get permission of everyone else in the story about sharing my journey as it related to them. And so there was lots of hurdles to overcome with that as well. So when I said the title of my book was Stepping Into More, I didn't know I'd be stepping into a whole lot more crap initially until I could really step into more of what I wanted. That has been a very interesting journey.
Thanks for sharing that, Rachel. So if people want to get in contact with you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
They can reach me at my website, www.steppingintomore.com. That would probably be the best way to reach me.
Great. And there's a LinkedIn profile, and all your contact information will attach to the podcast video so people could go through there and find you. Hey, Rachel, thanks. I appreciate you taking the time today. It was great to meet you. I had fun. I hope you did too. And let's connect soon.
Terrific. And John, I just wanted to say if anyone was interested in taking a saboteur assessment, I would be delighted to offer that to any of your viewers.
Oh, that's awesome. I might even take you up on that.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much, Rachel. We'll talk soon.
Wonderful. Thank you.